Another accusation today that the Bush Justice Department was playing hide the politics in its hiring decisions. Remember, it's illegal to take political affiliation into account when hiring career Justice Department lawyers, but that's exactly what Democrats suspect that Bradley Schlozman, a former top official in the Civil Rights Division, did.
Hi, this is Josh Marshall from TPM Media. It's Tuesday, May 8th, 2007. That was a segment from last night on CNN about Bradley Schlozman. He's the central character over the last few days in the US Attorney scandal. The Senate wants him to come up and testify now about his role. He's central now because of a new series of questions about whether Bush administration officials at the Department of Justice were screening new lawyers to make sure they were loyal Republicans. We want to go back now and explain Schlozman's role in the US Attorney scandal going back almost 5 years. Okay, 2003, Schlozman becomes the head of the voting section of the Civil Rights Division at the Justice Department. Two controversial decisions that we want to focus on. First, 2005, there's a highly controversial voter ID law passed in Georgia. This comes up for review to the Department of Justice, the voting section. The career lawyers and analysts at the Department of Justice say it violates voting rights. Here's one of the reasons that they think this. This is a quote from Sue Burmeister. She's the Georgia state legislator who is the sponsor of the bill. She told section staff, quote, "If there are fewer black voters because of this bill, it will only be because there is less opportunity for fraud. When black voters in black precincts are not paid to vote, they do not go to the polls." So, as you can imagine, this was enough to raise some suspicions about the intent behind this law. Again, the career people at the voting section were against it. Schlozman overruled them and pushed the law through. Eventually, a federal judge overruled it, basically turned it aside because it was so clear that the intent of this law was basically to set up a new version of a poll tax, the kind of stuff we had earlier in the century when blacks were systematically disfranchised in the South. Second thing, again, at the voting rights section, Department of Justice, Schlozman played a key role in getting states, particularly swing states around the country, to be more aggressive in purging their vote rolls. He actually ends up authorizing a suit against Missouri to force Missouri to be more aggressive, again, in purging their vote rolls. Remember, this is all in a context of efforts to suppress Democratic vote turnout in key swing states, a state like Missouri being a key example. So this is all in 2005. You've got the voter ID law in Georgia, the effort to purge vote rolls in swing states around the country. Now let's move up to March 2006. As a reward for all his great efforts trying to suppress minority and Democratic vote turnout, Schlozman gets rewarded as being the first U.S. attorney to be appointed under the USA Patriot Act, i.e. without Senate confirmation. That's in March 2006, 2 weeks after the Patriot Act is signed into law. Now, it didn't take Schlozman long to be back up to his old tricks once he became U.S. Attorney in Kansas City. The Justice Department has a long-standing policy that the closer you get to an election, the higher the bar is on bringing politically tinged indictments, a major corruption indictment, anything that might affect an election. The bar is even higher bringing vote fraud allegations because there's such a possibility of intimidating minority voters, basically reducing vote turnout. In 2006, Schlozman went out of his way to bring a series of vote fraud indictments. This was the Acorn case, in case you're familiar with that. A series of vote fraud indictments 5 days before the 2006 election. Now, because Schlozman had done such a bang-up job suppressing Democratic voter turnout, minority voter turnout, they pretty much knew he was never going to get approved by the Senate, particularly now that the Democrats are in control. So they pulled him out of Kansas City only a few weeks ago, replaced him with a new appointee, and now they've given Schlozman another job at Maine Justice. Of all things, he's actually a counselor, whatever that means, at the Executive Office of the United States Attorneys. That's the office at Maine Justice that supervises U.S. attorneys across the country. Now he's being asked by the Senate to come up and be questioned by the Senate Judiciary Committee about these accusations that he was screening new attorney hires at the Department of Justice to make sure they were loyal Republicans. Okay, so that's the story with Bradley Schlozman. We're going to take a quick break, and when we come back, we'll have a recap of recent Iraq predictions by House Minority Leader John Boehner. So when does the moment of truth in Iraq come? Let's hear a couple stabs at it by House Minority Leader John Boehner.
How long can you and your membership give the president and give the Iraqi military before you say, you know what, you're not doing your job?
I think it'll be rather clear in the next 60 to 90 days as to whether this plan's going to work.
Over the course of the next 3 or 4 months, we'll have some idea how well the plan's working. Early signs are indicating there is clearly some success on a number of fronts. But by the time, I think Ray's right, by the time we get to September, October, members are going to want to know how well this is working, and if it isn't, what's Plan B?
Plan B is to make Plan A work. The problem is you start talking about Plan B, that's where everybody defaults. And my attitude is, this is the best plan we could come up with. I thought long and hard about this. Consulted with a lot of people, both Republicans and Democrats. I obviously listened to the military, and this is the best way to achieve an objective, which is an achievable objective. But give my chance a plan to work.
Okay, we're going to keep bringing you more on the U.S. Attorney Purge scandal at tpmmuckraker.com, talkingpointsmemo.com, and here at TPM TV. I'm Josh Marshall from TPM Media, and we'll talk to you tomorrow.